welcome to Getting Into Boundary, Part 9. We are on our last episode of the series, pending whether or not we decide to add another episode for something new, Not really sure. We haven't really gotten that too far. We're going to talk about multi-hop and transparent sessions today, but unfortunately we are having some technical difficulties with transparent sessions with our machines. And so it is in transparent sessions, if you're not familiar, is in beta. And so since it is not fully GA yet, we're going to refrain from showing it today just to alleviate some confusion. But it is pretty cool, so we'll talk about it in the beginning, and then we'll just go straight to multi-hop sessions. And part of this is because, multi-hop can be complicated. I didn't actually test it. We did try to test transparent sessions, and unfortunately there are some side effects that we have on our machines that make it a little bit challenging to work around it. So if you're not familiar with this series, welcome. We are getting into Boundary. In this case, we're getting into HCP Boundary or Boundary Enterprise. These are enterprise features. So if you're wondering where these are in Community Edition, well, you won't find them. But you will find them on our managed service, HCP Boundary or Boundary Enterprise, which is the self-managed version of Boundary. With that, we'd love for you to participate in the chat. If you have questions, concerns, requests, helpful suggestions, because we do take suggestions from the chat quite frequently, we'd love for you to get involved and put your comments in chat. But as you do, be welcoming, respectful, and professional. Follow our community guidelines. And if you need more information, go to HashiCorp.com/community guidelines. And for more housekeeping, we also have a link to previous episodes in the series. We have many other parts to getting into Boundary. So we started with the architecture of Boundary. We talked about how to set things up. We configured things a little bit more the challenging way or from scratch. And so if you missed any part of the series, you can watch it at hash.co/getting into Boundary. It is on a playlist. So you can watch them all in sequence. And I highly recommend you watch them in order because we do build on top of all of them, leading to this moment. Very important.
Yes.
You're laughing. Anyway, so Cole, I guess we should talk about what we did the last time. What did we do the last time?
Indeed. I mean, we've done a lot of things to the point to where it's all starting to mash together. Yeah, so let's see. Last time we went through... Oh my gosh, it's been a bit, hasn't it?
Session recording!
It has been a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went through session recording.
Yes, which is highly useful and very impressive in demos.
Yes. So if you have an audit requirement where you need to be tracking the commands that someone is issuing on a machine, then you will want to turn on session recording and play back the history of what they are doing. Very cool. But today we are talking a little bit about multi-hop sessions, and we were going to talk about transparent session. We were going to show transparent sessions, but it turns out that it's got some side effects on our laptops, so we're not going to touch it right now until we resolve those.
Yes.
And we'll explain a little bit of why. And it's not anything specific that is bad. It's just mostly that, again, it is a beta feature at the time of this recording. And it's still subject to, some nuances to how your machine is set up. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we'll start with transparent sessions just as a description. If you haven't checked out transparent sessions is the idea that you can SSH into a target endpoint without even needing to know about Boundary's existence. And this is pretty critical, I think. If you are working on a developer machine, or your developer is working on a machine and they don't really want to know, they don't really want to know Boundary exists, and they just want to be able to connect straight to their virtual machine, right? You can set what is called an alias and then connect from the alias and connect to the alias through that alias. So there's some examples there in documentation. I'll pop up the documentation on here. Just so folks, if you do want to connect to, you do want to learn a little bit more about it, you can. One thing that you must know is that there is a Boundary Client agent that does get installed on your machine. Once you install the Boundary Client agent on your machine, it will route the session. So you may find that it will alter DNS, or it will it will intercept some of these requests just so it can forward it to the correct machine, and as a result you may experience some side effects. So that's why it is currently in beta. If you do run into any issues, please file them. Please let us know. We want to make sure that it is stable and available for folks to use it. So we may give it a try today on my machine. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna have to. I'm still in the background trying to multitask and see if I can get it working. But
we don't know. So we're going to maybe hold off on that for now. So we're going to focus mostly on multi-hop. So this will be an episode mostly on multi-hop. All right. So I guess we should talk about what multi-hop is. Cool. What happens? I guess, how does Boundary connect to a target right now? So in all of the streams that we've shown previously, in all of the episodes, we've shown really one way to connect from your machine, your laptop, to a worker, to a target. And so, explain, what are some of the nuances we have to know from a networking perspective of going from machine to worker to target?
So in general, you have your probably protected network, your private network, your private subnetwork within your network, and that's got whatever it is that your resource of interest that you're trying to get into. Then you have you, the person. So how do we get into it? Well, first up, we're going to make sure that we have the Boundary CLI installed and that it works. And then from there, you're going to log into it. When you log into it, it's going to hit the Boundary controllers that are available publicly, in our case through a load balancer, actually in our case recently through HCP Boundary. This is going to make it so that you can then hop into a worker that then ultimately, if you're using some of the the brokered credentials or injected application credentials, allow you to go into ultimately into the target, in our case inside of that private subnetwork, to access the target itself. So that means that our workers are currently in the public subnet, which is why you've seen us SSH into them directly. So I have a feeling we just foreshadowed what we're going to talk about with the multi-hop, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so there became this question of well, what do you do if you don't want to expose your machine to the public network? You don't want to expose that worker to the public network, right? You do need some kind of proxy, right? That is going to be on the public network and is able to access some kind of private network, right? But you can segment your network a little bit more from a security perspective, to basically ensure that you are only controlling ingress into your private network in a controlled way. The other thing that you have to know is, it's kind of inconvenient. If you've got a private worker, you don't really want Boundary Controller to connect to that private worker directly, right? And we saw through worker registration, right, Cole? We saw through worker registration, this meant that there was this heartbeat that the controller had to keep sending for health checks. It's is this worker up and running? Is this worker up and running? That may not be something you want to configure for a private network, right? You don't want a private network to get those requests from the controller, which is on a public network. So you want to segment it further. And so hence there is this need for hopping into multiple layers? Yeah, layers of networking, right? I'm going to pull up a handy dandy diagram. A very useful diagram that I can hopefully share. And so there is a way for you to do multi-hop sessions, right? And this is available in HCP Boundary or Boundary Enterprise. And the idea is that you'll have a controller that does have access to what is called an ingress worker. And it recognizes that this ingress worker is public. It's able to issue status checks against it. It's able to check whether or not it is running, right? And the controller, when it gets a request, will send the session request to this ingress worker. Meanwhile, if you have private networks available, you can set any number of workers to reach back to the ingress worker, right? Not to the controller, but to the ingress worker and say, look, I'm here. So if you want to access this target that's on a private network, I am in existence. The controller doesn't directly health check these intermediary or these egress workers, right? The point is that the egress worker is going, and the intermediary worker are the ones who are going to report back to the ingress worker and state their intentions, that they have the ability to route to these targets. But the controller itself doesn't necessarily have awareness of these workers, right? So you don't do the worker auth. It's not quite the same workflow. And so that's something that's quite important to understand. With multi-hop workers, it means that you can chain any number of workers together in order to access targets that are on other networks. So you don't have to have a public worker in every single network that you might need to be accessing.
Yeah. I have a question. So that makes sense, because that's like the utility of it is, okay, let's not have a zillion public workers. Let's have one through which all these private ones come back through to. But on the earlier part of that, in terms of like keeping up with the controller, giving it updates, and like you said, the heartbeat of all of it, you're saying that the intermediary and the egress workers, they just tell the ingress one about that, and then the controller just learns from it, or?
Yeah, the controller, and you have to tell the controller that the ingress worker exists.
Okay.
But it's ultimately up to the ingress, to whatever is the ingress worker. In this case, we can say HCP worker or anything else. It's ultimately up to the target to understand that there is going to be a worker, right?
Okay.
And so that's something that's important to know. There are many other capabilities that you can look into, but basically this allows you to omit the need to directly register a worker to Boundary controller specifically. Instead, you can just kind of proxy through.
Oh, okay.
Egress. So the egress kind of reports back to the ingress, and then the ingress controls which egress it's going to go to.
Okay. Okay.
It goes to. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Very neat. And I think that if you're on a private network, this might be more of a useful topology for you. You can control the inbound access from the controller to the public network. You can bring your own worker. You don't have to use what is the HCP worker that comes out of the box from HCP. You bring your own worker that you set up as an ingress, and that's what we're going to do today. Just to show that, like if you do want additional, audit and things like that capability, you'll be able to still bring your own worker to proxy into it.
Cool. Yeah, I think the interesting part is, from my perspective, when we've done demos, we've had to use this, right? Pretty much every time, especially if you're, well, not especially, that's the wrong wording, but if you're on HCP, we give you public workers that are just ready to go by default, but often you're going to need something private. So I've set this up a couple times, but I'm interested to see and explore some of these other different areas of value for it.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, as a note for those who are wondering, you do have to have port 9202 open. That is the worker port, so you do need to have those. Please expect to have those open. Otherwise, you will not be able to connect properly. So certainly have those available. And I do think you actually have to register just the ingress worker. I don't think you have to register the egress worker.
That's what I was gonna ask, because I wanted to. But I was like, how dumb will I look? And it's like, oh, well, I don't care, so let's ask it anyways.
Let's see. I think maybe you do have to register it, but I don't know how it heartbeat to it, because it's not necessarily going to know. But we'll try. We're going to try. Like I said, we don't try everything on these streams beforehand, so this could take longer than we expected. I see the fear in Gil's eyes.
No. I mean, it's the last time, so what could possibly go right? Wrong.
We already kind of borked Cole's laptop, so here we are. Okay. All right. So we are using HCP Boundary. I will share my screen since Cole's laptop has been, unfortunately, kind of flooped out with the
things.
Yeah,
yes.
With binary that may or may not actually have installed correctly. All right, so we have HCP Boundary. This is the managed service. And we're going to register some workers. The setup we're going to do is we're going to have an HCP worker, which we've already registered. So we have an HCP worker here, and it's certainly up and running. So, and we have pre-staged a HCP egress worker. So this is the worker that's on a private network. Notice there's no. Hold on, I'm not sharing the screen with the right screen. Let me just share the entire screen. All right, everybody, share this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, we have an egress worker here, and this egress worker does indeed have only a private IP address. It has no public address, which means that we can't get to it, right? Like the boundary controller can't route to this private IP address. It's not routable externally. And so the only way we're going to be able to get to it is to basically proxy through our HCP worker first, and then get to this egress worker. So we've set up a few things already. Based on this, we have I already went in and I added a few things to it. So I'm going to just pull up the code base for it. If you are curious about the code base that we are using and you would like to try it for yourself, I will post up a banner for it. This is the code base. So we do have a code base for all this, and it will have we use Terraform primarily to set it up. But
yes.
You are more than welcome to change it if you would like. Okay. So this is the code base. The main thing that I added that Cole was like, what in the world is different now? Is the HCP egress worker. So there is an egress worker in here. And I did start with a little bit of different user data this time. So our HCP user data that I mentioned last time had a public address to it. This is not something that you're going to include as part of the egress worker because after all, we don't have a public address anymore. So you're going to eliminate the public address. You still need the boundary cluster ID. The other thing is that I just updated a tag with multi-hop, so at least we're aware that this is an egress worker. You can add egress as a tag. You can, there are different ways that you can tag this. But as for the most part, this is what is going to be, what we're going to be adding here. Okay, so that's what is on the machine right now. That's what's kind of set up, right, most immediately. And we are going to try to configure this as an egress worker and see if we can connect to a target. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so we got a public address. I'm going to scroll down. Okay, Are you?
Oh, okay. So yeah, just kidding.
I'm just checking.
You're checking something. It's okay. Yeah.
I'm just checking the link. Okay, so we are going to figure out which one. Okay, so the initial upstream will forward connection. Okay, so one thing that we do need to change for is this the downstream or the upstream? See, this is, folks who are looking at this, I'll pull up the tutorial that I'm looking at.
Okay, yeah, because I was like,
Okay, so.
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, so we have the ingress worker and egress worker and then the host. So if this is the deploying the downstream worker user 8 working locally. Okay, so all right, we have the URL, we have everything. I got most of this part set up. So we have a target accessible by worker. This is considered the upstream worker. And so we have an upstream worker configured. And so we configure the downstream worker. And then new egress worker in the downstream chain. So this will be the downstream of worker 1, which is worker 1 from the previous tutorial. Yeah, so we already configured an ingress worker, which that's what we've already done before.
Yeah, because we're just going to, by the way, we're just repurposing the current worker to become,
this one. This one here.
Yes, is
this
going to
one
now
is
become.
Is worker 1 / ingress worker.
Yes, such a useful
So
name.
many terms.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So many terms. Okay, so then we are going to use the downstream worker. I don't think it needs to be public. This guide says public, but I don't think it needs to be. But we'll see. I guess we might need to go in and do some editing. It already should have come up, and then the worker config. This mostly looks fine, except I think maybe I did not have the initial upstream.
Okay, so downstream worker is the ingress worker, right?
Downstream worker is
The egress worker.
Is the egress worker.
Is the egress worker, and it's claiming it needs to be public.
I don't know. I don't think it needs to be.
I don't think it needs to be public either.
I don't think so. I think we do need to register an initial upstream though to the known upstream worker that we have.
Okay.
Right. So we do need to do that. So that's missing out of this, which maybe I'll just SSH into it. That probably is.
Yeah, because I'm positive in some of the previous times that we've done a multi-hop, even though it's only ever been one hop, that it definitely was not public.
Yeah, I'm gonna SSH into it and then unroll it. So, private IP address. This is what we get for a private IP address. EC2 user at this. Please tell me. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's look at, I think, HCP Boundary.d worker.hcl. I think this is where I put everything. No, this is not it. I think it was Boundary, right?
Yes, I think it was just straight boundary.
Because this is worker. Okay, so we're going to add the upstream. So a little bit different for this one is that the HCP Boundary cluster ID is still necessary, right? So it's still something you have to include, as far as I can tell. Although this is kind of strange because it appears that you don't have to. Now I'm just confused. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm just going to assume, because this makes sense that you do need the public IP of the upstream worker.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the upstream worker. I'm going to grab the upstream worker. We're going to grab that public address.
Yes.
So that it can actually register to it, because I suspect that if it doesn't register to it, we might have some, it might not know where to go. So the initial upstream does make sense. But like I said, we're going to see how this goes.
Yes.
So this, for folks who are like, where are we right now? We are in the private instance, and now I'm telling it to connect to the public worker. Because we have one public worker, and then we have this worker, which is on a private network. So I'm telling it to go connect to the initial upstream of this. Now, do we need to have this HCP Boundary cluster ID? Based on this tutorial, it says no.
But
should I delete it and see how it goes?
I mean, if we're here and we're going to start it, I guess we can try it, but I'm guessing it's because it would infer that from the... I guess because it shouldn't care, because it's only going to be talking to the ingress, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
well,
maybe
this
will be fine. Maybe this will be fine. I don't know. Let me stop. Reload. Okay, systemctl start boundary. All right, let's see how this goes.
Okay.
Well, that didn't go so well.
Well, let's see.
Error creating the necessary path.
This again.
I am pretty sure I did all this.
Yeah, we've gotten this one before.
I think we just have to start it like manually, right?
Yeah, I think that's what we wound up doing.
We're just gonna do start.
Yeah, because we've wound up having to have multiple tabs. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
there
it
we
is
go.
not yet authorized. Well, that's not helpful.
I didn't.
Well, I guess we have to generate a. Okay, so we got that set up. It has an upstream, and then we started the worker, so that's fine.
So there should be.
Oh, and then we have to do worker auth registration.
So we do have to do worker auth. So was the thing at the top? Because yeah, there it is. Okay, so that's why I was saying that.
Yeah, so we do need to do worker auth registration.
Yes.
So for those who are wondering what's going on here, we do indeed have to do worker auth registration.
Yay.
We have no public address, so we're not touching that. We're not even going to generate this config because we already have a config.
Yes.
So we're going to register this worker, and then done.
Yep. Yay.
So
Okay.
it has something. It just can't reach it.
Yo, that's that guy at the end there? That's the
Yeah.
new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
Well, maybe the blocks have changed if we go.
It
Oh,
is-
wow. So that was last seen.
Oh, it has a status, but it doesn't.
Well, that's good.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So we're good.
there it is.
We're good. We're
Maybe
good. Look at that.
Go back to that top level UI. Maybe it just took a second.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
So,
Yay.
I guess the IP address, we probably should have maybe updated it to something else, but it doesn't have a public IP.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's just where it's listening. It's just on itself everywhere on that port.
Yeah. Okay.
So we didn't need to put the cluster.
We did not need to put the cluster.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it did get that. The initial upstream, we put the upstream of the ingress worker, right? Just the straight up.
We put the upstream of this, yeah. This
Yeah, of the ingress worker. Okay.
So
Yeah.
388,
Yeah.
59, 174.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We
Okay.
did. So all we did was put in the. I'll print it out for folks who are. Oh, I can't because it's on here. That's fine. But yeah, we just put the upstream of the public worker that we're calling the ingress worker.
As opposed to the controllers.
Yeah.
And the ingress worker is like, here's everything you need to know. And yet somehow the controller is this is what I was curious about, is whether or not our control plane here, our UI as well, would be able to give us info about the egress worker.
I know.
But it looks like it can, which is interesting.
It can, yeah. I think it
Yeah.
must be trying to do some health check through the other worker. So it's kind
Yeah.
of proxying through.
Interesting.
So, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
I'm wondering how we correct this whole IP address thing. There's got to be an IP address in the worker stanza, though. My inner. Sorry, everybody, but my inner there's got to be another address thing that you can configure here, because a public address. No. Okay. Never mind. So I guess maybe not. It is a multi-hot worker. Purpose. I think it must be address, right?
Yeah, what do we have as the config? Maybe it just, if you don't specify it, it just
Uses 00.
uses, whatever you set for that.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta SSH back into it. There we go. And yeah, I think it must be this address, right? Because I wonder if it's just using this address. The listener.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's honestly, it's just display sugar, but we know it's private, right? Like you can't. Well, is it? It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm confused now.
What?
I want to know how I configure this IP address. This is going to nitpick at me. Okay, we're not going to introduce chaos. But we have a lot of questions. So, Cole, I don't know if we want to go through the questions right now.
Let's see. Well, why don't we, let's, I mean, these are they are interesting questions. Why don't we finish up the task at hand first and then pause in between. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, Rosemary, I am happy to announce that after, if it looks like I've been zoning out, it's because I've been trying to fix the issue we had this morning, and it was the package installer. As soon as I got rid of it and installed it through Brew, now it's all working.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we may or may not have time for transparent sessions. We'll see.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay.
I don't know. Given that we're working through this very slowly.
Yes.
I'll finish this one up. How
Yes,
about that? And then we
let's
can try
finish this and we can
transparent
see.
sessions. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we registered the worker. It is indeed alive and well in the status page. So that is good. That is very promising. And the next thing that we're going to do is now configure a target to go multi-hop, to go from the ingress worker, which is this 54i, and then and then after that it will go through the HHX worker and then connect to a target. So we're going to go and fix a target. Get a target. We have targets available.
Yes.
Session recording target?
Sure.
Sure, let's do that. I don't know if this still connects or not. So
Well, we're about to find out.
we're about to find out. So we are going to effectively use this. Before we were just using egress workers. You know, we didn't really configure this ingress worker here. We were using egress workers because if you're using just like Community Edition Boundary, you only configure an egress worker filter, which basically says connect to this worker and use these tags, use this worker with these tags on it. So in this case, we're using generically EC2. We are going to configure things a little bit differently.
Hold on. Question.
Yeah.
/ comment.
Yeah.
This worker who was that original one was an egress until we've decided it will be the ingress.
Yes, exactly.
So in some cases it's ingress, in some cases it's egress.
Right, exactly.
That is.
It gets very confusing. It's just, all the names,
Yes.
we should just be more.
Yes. And sometimes egress is also known as downstream, but only after 5 p.m.
The downstream thing. Okay, I'm going to copy this worker filter because really we just want this worker filter. I'm going to fix this one though because I'm a little worried that if we keep it like 2 egress workers and, you know, making jumps and things like that, we're going to have some issues.
Get caught in a loop.
Yeah.
That might be fun to watch, though.
Oh, chaos. That's the chaos part of this. We do sometimes do chaos parts of the stream where we just randomly do things.
Yeah.
But we do want to get this working first.
Yes.
So I put a tag that says multi-hop, which we really probably should have just create a new tag. Category.
Oh, there we go.
This is egress, right? So add.
Yes.
Save. Okay, there we go.
I like how we've come up with purpose tag type category. They're all kind of like
Tags, category. I guess I should have cleaned it up, but
no, it's better this way.
Like, you know,
It's better
I wanted
this
to
way.
preserve all of the
Yes.
the tags we did have.
Oh yes, for
Otherwise,
sure.
we're gonna be like, oh no. Okay, so egress is going to be in tags category. I'm gonna go update my worker tag for the ingress. By the way, for folks who are wondering, yes, you can actually do API updates to tags. So very useful. Category ingress.
Wait. So hold up. This was our worker who was formerly known as egress, but we didn't really call him egress,
No.
but is now as the ingress.
Yep.
And the other one is only ever going to be egress and would be unusable as a direct worker.
Yeah.
Yes. So now
where
we should have the power.
Theoretically. Theoretically. Like I said, we don't test everything before we get on the stream, so this could be okay.
Yes.
Ingress in tags category, egress in tags category. Okay. So we'll see how this goes.
Hold on. Can you open that whole thing up again?
Yeah.
So this is on our ingress worker, right?
Which is on our ingress worker.
Yeah, these right here, what we're looking at. We're on our
This is on our target.
Oh, right.
So you have to go to the target,
Yes.
and
Okay.
then you have to configure a worker filter for the
Yeah.
target.
So we could mess that up
Yes.
by swapping those.
Yes.
Because then it will try. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. But theoretically, this is our egress worker. The egress worker is the one that's closest to the target. So
Yes.
we have a private target that this private network
Right.
worker should be able to connect to.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yes.
But whether or not it will, I have no idea. We'll see.
Okay.
I am just, I'm hoping it works. Okay, so now we're going to SSH into it.
Okay.
And in that case, I'm going to exit out of here. And I'm going to temporarily pause my screen.
Okay. If you want, I could try to SSH into
Would
it.
you like to? I
Yeah, and then you can just watch it from the console.
Okay.
Okay. So if I'm going to do that, I should just the target just like normal, right?
Yeah, it would. You should just target it like you would usually
Yeah.
target it.
And
right?
did we ever add credentials to this one?
Did we ever add credentials?
Oh, we did. Yeah.
we
Yeah,
should have,
injected.
I think,
So
from
I
the
should
last
just
time.
I should just be able to do this. Let's see.
I don't know.
Okay. Yep, I'm in it. So
There you go.
yeah. So do you see anything different?
Let me pull it up because I wanted to make sure I hid the the credentials. I wanted to hide credentials because I was a little bit worried about exposing our credentials on the stream. Okay, so let me reshare.
Yep,
Okay,
so
here we go.
I'm doing
so
stuff.
there's a session. So interesting. There is a session
Yes.
available. I don't know which. Can I show which? No, not yet. Okay.
If you go to workers, shouldn't it show which
It
ones
should
have
show, yeah,
which
exactly.
sessions are?
Workers? No.
How do we know if it's being used then?
I don't know. That is the question. Session recording. Is it gonna be lies? I don't know.
Yeah.
Audit which one is using it. Maybe we have to close the session. Let me close it.
That could be it. You got really Androidy there for a second. It was amazing.
Why?
I think your internet connection's getting a little wonky,
Oh.
but it's fun. I mean, you just sound like a cyborg for like minutes at a time.
Okay. Oh, someone mentioned that the mic needs closer, so I put my mic
Oh, I think they were just mentioning when you got into your mad scientist grumble, which that's low on purpose.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you're good.
Mad
You're
scientist grumble. Okay. All right. I am going to assume that there is no session. No
I'm still in.
Worker here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still.
I'm going
in.
to cancel.
Okay. Bye. Yeah. Thanks
how
for kicking me out.
Which worker?
I know. I guess you could look at the logs of the egress worker.
I guess we could. Yes,
Yeah.
that would be the most reasonable thing to do. So let's check the logs of the egress worker. And
All right.
see what
Do you
happens.
want me to log back on?
No, it's fine. I can
Okay.
go from here. We started it on my machine. We might as well continue.
Yeah. Oh no, I meant just. Do you want me to connect back to the target to see new logs?
No, I think we should be able to see it, right?
Yeah.
No.
What?
No. Oh no, wait, because we didn't use this. Yeah, we didn't use this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it should just still be going.
It's proxy. Yeah, it did proxy a new channel. So
Yeah.
yes, it did.
Yay!
Yeah. Okay. It can't find the storage bucket though for some reason. I guess it can't find the storage bucket because we didn't give it permissions.
Oh, for session recording, right?
But I thought I did. It's attached to the same instance profile.
Oh.
So, which is interesting enough. Let's see. Yeah, it's attached to the same instance profile, so it should have access to it. I don't know. Very interesting.
We could just go see if you can see the session.
That's true. We could just see the session. This is back to this. Let's see. Session recordings. So it is complete. That was the most recent one.
Did it play?
I'm playing it. Let's see. It's loading. No. Oh, is this the final episode for real? Oh, this is what you were typing.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we were able
did
to.
work.
Yeah, we were able to find it.
And it definitely proxied because it showed that in the logs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there you are.
Yay. All right. Well.
The more you know. Yeah, this was Cole. We did not see on the stream. You probably didn't see what Cole was doing in the machine.
Yeah. I was just messing
Yeah,
around.
so this is what Cole was doing in
Yeah.
the machine.
But so question then is there a way to just by process of elimination say that target cannot be accessed by anything other than that egress worker?
We could take the tag off.
Yeah. How would
Yeah,
that?
if we take the tag off.
Yeah, because that, I mean, two things. Like one, that there's probably a case for where you would want to do that, right? Because you only would want it to be accessible by one that got hopped to.
Yeah.
And second, that would also tell us absolutely 100% for sure that it's working.
Well, we can take off the ingress, right?
Okay. So what does this do? Oh, this
So
just
if we take off the ingress, what it will basically mean is that we're only. Can I take off the ingress? We are only going to go through the egress, but the egress is private, so theoretically we wouldn't be able to connect to it.
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah. Well, here's to crossing our fingers that this works.
I don't know. Sometimes we just try things.
This is this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You want me
We're
to try
gonna
it?
see if you want to try
right.
connecting to it now.
All right.
Take off the terminated.
Yep, still worked.
Still worked. Well,
Yeah.
it's
Sorry.
weird. Is it still proxying through it? That's what I don't understand because it definitely doesn't have.
Maybe refresh. I just went in. Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, you just kicked me out.
Yeah, now I'm kicking you out.
Oh, thanks.
I just don't know if it needs time to propagate or something.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay, I see.
Yeah, because it's not like it's in terms of how it's chaining the rules.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it is a private. That's the thing. This is a private instance, so
Yeah.
it's probably connecting through the public one still. If I had to take a guess.
Oh,
Probably.
really? You think it? Like, how long does the controller take to propagate all of the?
Seconds to like a couple minutes. It could depend.
Okay,
right?
well,
So,
maybe while we wait for propagation for sure, we just summarize
yes,
real quick. Yes.
Okay.
Because there was a lot there.
there was a lot going. Okay, so basically we went through and we configured 2 workers. We didn't really do anything to our existing worker. We were previously just treating this as the worker for all workers. We were going into this and using it to connect to any target. The thing is that this worker is public. And if you have a private network that you only want to control certain ingress points to that private network, you don't want to have a public worker available out there, right? You want to proxy from a public worker to a private worker and then to the target endpoint. So we set up a private worker, which is this H8X worker. And this is on a private network. It's not publicly accessible. And so that means that if someone does try to access this worker just straight from their machine through Boundary, they will not be able to proxy to the target, right? Because this is private. It's private network. So what we did was that we configured this private worker to connect to the Boundary controller, basically proxy through the ingress worker, which is the public
one.
worker. And by this chain, or this multi-hop session chaining, we're able to allow someone to connect to a privately networked instance going from a laptop to a public worker to a private worker to the private target.
Yay.
Yeah.
So just so everyone knows, there are 3 kind of like ways that we talk about these. We sometimes call them egress workers. Sometimes we call them downstream workers. Sometimes we call them private workers, but they're all the same worker. But not always, because sometimes that same worker can also be an ingress worker, a public worker, or an upstream worker.
Right.
Yes.
This is just downstream, and then in the tutorials it's called downstream.
Yeah.
And upstream, and then it's then worker 1 and worker 2. So we need to probably go back and update some terminology just so it's consistent.
Yeah.
But
would you like me to try to hit it now?
let's give it a try now.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did delete the ingress worker
Yep.
filter.
Yep.
So.
Still let me in.
Huh. I'm wondering. Well.
Why are
No.
you? Why you seem suspicious?
I'm suspicious now. Like,
Yeah.
how is it still working? But
Well,
I guess,
shouldn't it be going up through the hopping? Actually, right? Shouldn't it be hitting the public and then ultimately into the? Maybe it just assumes it. Maybe it assumes.
it probably because we first set it up that way.
Oh, so you just think it just hasn't forgotten?
Yeah, I think it.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think it just hasn't forgotten.
Okay.
I mean, we could do this for sure if we
forget.
actually, if there's a target that we have that's a bunch of static hosts.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, we can probably try this one instead.
That does that have the injected credentials? Probably not. Well, I guess the question is, do we want to do that, or do we want to try transparent?
We have several minutes. I don't know. We can try transparent.
Okay. Would you prefer transparent or would you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, we could try it. But
Yeah.
we also have a bunch of questions to answer.
We also have questions.
Yeah, so we should probably just leave it at that and then leave it for a follow-up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, do you want to try since we're going to just stick on multi-hop, do you want to try this theory of hitting this other?
Yeah, we could try it. Why not?
Sure.
Okay. I will update the titling, folks, so that it's just multi-hop, and then we'll save transparent sessions once it goes GA and things like that.
Yes.
Let's see. I was on static hosts. That's right.
Yes.
So the workers, you know what? Let's just add an egress worker.
Mm-hmm.
And it was egress, right?
Mm-hmm. In the tags category.
Category, something like that.
Yep.
Let me just double check. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just make sure. Okay, so this should not go through an ingress worker.
Okay. At all.
At all.
So we didn't do broker, so I do need to have the key ready for that. Let me go grab the target ID here. These are just SSH ones, right?
These are just SSH.
Okay.
You could just do SSH forwarding if you really want to. You don't
Yeah.
have to broker. Especially because we're not doing it through the desktop. If you're
Yeah,
doing it
yeah.
through CLI, you can just pass it forward.
All right. Okay, that did deny me.
Yeah. Okay. So notice it can't get to it, right? So we don't show any of the sessions popping up here.
Yeah.
And it's because, we went in and we configured a worker filter, but we only configured it on the private worker, right? There's no public worker in there for it to actually connect to, or to know that it should connect to first.
Yeah.
So it's trying to go directly to that private worker, and it's not able to connect to it.
Right.
There you go.
That makes sense. Yay! Yeah. Good thing it's not. Yeah, because that would be very. Well, it would have been impossible if it had been working the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been kind of strange.
So my question is, I wonder how long it's going to take for it to propagate those other changes. I guess I can try again, see if maybe there's anything different.
Yeah.
No, it's still letting me in. Yeah, it just must remember it for a bit.
Yeah, I think it must remember it. It must it must be jumping through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we got a couple questions. And how are multi-hop sessions handled differently than transparent sessions? So multi-hop is how a session is handled, meaning how it is going to be routed through the network. Transparent sessions is mostly about the user experience, the developer experience for someone who's using it.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't go through it today, but with transparent sessions, that's something that the developer or the user who's trying to connect to that target, that's something that they'll be seeing, and that's something that's just streamlining their ability to connect to the target without knowing anything about Boundary. Multi-hop is more administrative or more operational. So if you're trying to route network from someone's laptop, a developer's laptop, a user laptop to the target, right? That's where multi-hop sessions would be more important.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a logging and session isolation perspective, multi-hop, both transparent sessions in themselves don't necessarily have, isolation necessarily, right? That's more something of a user experience a feature, but multi-hop will have logging as well as isolation, partially because it's still allowing you to control how many sessions someone can have. There's a connection limit you can set for any given target, and then you also get session recording as well for any SSH targets. So that's what we were playing back earlier. That Cole SSH'd to this target, this private target through the private worker, and we're still able to record what he was doing on that machine. Okay. What are key challenges in maintaining session integrity and user identity during, so in session integrity and user identity, I would say part of this is going to be how you set up session recording. Check out how we set that up in the previous episode. And then as for user identity, it's usually tied to some kind of single sign-on or identity provider. And so we did actually show that in another episode as well. So check out those two. That will offer some capabilities in terms of an integrated identity provider that you can use to set up Boundary and then make sure that you're tying the correct user identity to the session or to the target that you want to create. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm looking for the other questions. Oh, context-aware policy enforcement. So that is actually pretty good. How does HCP manage context-aware policy enforcement across dynamic multi-hop sessions, especially when intermediate nodes are not in the HCP trust boundary? That's a good question. I don't know if there is a current policy control for it. I don't know if you're aware of any, Cole?
Nope.
No. Yeah. I don't think there's exactly a policy control plane yet for whether or not you register workers. How you register workers right now, it's mostly the worker auth registration that has to be done, worker-led registration or controller-led registration.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think there's probably room for improvement on that, but there are other ways that you can control how you're going to register those workers and how you're going to make sure that only authorized workers are able to gain access to Boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all. And then someone made a note that some of them are not that some of our videos are not on the playlist. So one moment. We're going to add them. We have to add them manually. So I'll be sure to edit and add them. They might be missing from the audience, from the playlist, but they are indeed in existence. They just may not have been added properly. So I'll be sure to get those added. All right, we are coming up at top of the hour. Anything you want to add, Cole?
No, I don't think so. Other than I guess we'll just see what happens with transparent sessions. But it does make sense for us to wait till it's GA, really.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, we wanted to show it, but it's also like reasonably speaking, I will say that it will affect your DNS on your local machine. So you may find that it's not quite ready for you to use. I don't want to necessarily show it, and then we run into some issues where DNS and then it crashes the stream. So we're not going to do that today. But I'll update the titling on the replay just so that it is just multi-hop. With that, I think we're going to wrap up. This is not, I wouldn't say this is a final episode, but this is a good conclusion until we come back for more.
Yeah, when we get to that final bit. But yeah.
So, Cole, what did you learn about Boundary?
Well, all of the things, right? I think we've talked and touched on pretty much every aspect of it, at least especially from a developer and administrator perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad. The other part that I'm glad that we touched through was one, the automation aspect of it through Terraform, because obviously we're both big Terraformers in terms of not doing this manually, but also showing it through the UI to get the visual feedback so that you can solidify some of the concepts. I think the domain model, so structuring scopes, is something that, before you start working with Boundary, really think through that and understand that so you get that right. And sync it up with Vault. It's going to make it even more interesting for you, right?
Yeah. Check out credentials injection for those who are wondering about that. Credentials injection. It's pretty neat. With that, I am pretty good with this. I think we're going to stop here.
Yep.
We're going to wrap up multi-hop sessions. Oh, the Boundary.
I mean, I was going to do it. We got to do it, right? That was the last one. Yeah.
I didn't wear the Boundary shirt today because
You didn't wear it, yeah.
I did wear a shirt, with the logo and all. But for those who are interested in more Boundary, check out our documentation. If you are looking for a specific feature, you want to learn more about something, about how to configure something, let us know. If you are watching the replays of this and you say, I want to learn how to do this, just drop a comment and maybe we'll bring it back for a reboot. We'll probably bring it back for a reboot anyway, especially for transparent sessions.
Yep.
with that, thank you everyone for tuning into this series, and we're going to wrap up for this series. Appreciate your time and your comments and suggestions. If you have ideas for the next HashiCorp product you want to learn, let us know. We haven't decided yet. We have a console one, we have a vault one, we now have a Boundary one. I don't know what's next.
I mean, there's really only one more product we can do, and you know what it is.
There could be more. We don't know.
I mean,
All right.
I can make jokes, but I won't make a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, I will avoid. You should probably cancel me before I make a joke. Okay, but anyhow.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.